Have you ever gotten a psychic vision and decided to follow it? I have, and it's a wild ride. In this video, I'm going to tell you stories of two of those times that really stand out to me. So it's like personal storytelling hour. Hey, this is future Brandy popping in on past Brandy that you just watched or that you're watching or whatever. And I just wanted to add that for one, this is not going to be an entire story hour. It's like story hour, but it's only like 13, 15 minutes or something like that. So no big deal. Secondly, the reason that I wanted to share a couple of experiences is because I know that when I listen to other people talk about experiences, I can compare notes, and it makes it easier for me to realize that what I'm happening is really like a psychic experience. So for people who are working on psychic abilities or who might not even know that that's what's happening to them, listening to other people tell stories about it can help you to understand your own psychic abilities better. And well, it's just fun telling these stories and talking about stuff like this. And then one more thing about it is that once you understand more of what's happening to you and within you, not to you, but within you, you can trust it more easily. And knowing that if you trust it, good things will come of it can help you to keep trusting it, grow that faith in your own abilities, and use your own abilities. I know that that's what's happening for me, and it's super exciting, so I want that to happen for you too. Anyways, back to the regularly scheduled program. Before we dive in, allow me to introduce myself. If we've met before, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Brandy Fleck. I'm a writer, artist, certified trauma-informed life coach, host of the top-rated Human Amplified podcast, where I interview lots of cool folks about the human condition and how to make it better, and also am currently being called to strengthen my intuitive abilities and share my experiences with you around that. So I'm answering that calling on this channel, and I'm excited to see where it takes us. So if what I share here resonates, I'd appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and like this video. If it doesn't resonate, that's okay. Take what does and leave the rest. So here's the first story. A few months ago, I was in a coaching session with a long-term client who I'd been working with for over a year. This particular client was working on resolving a deep fear of loss so she could move forward in life in a way that was more aligned with her values. And one topic that kept coming up for her was, how do you let go? Let go of the past, let go of old patterns, let go of people who don't treat you well. Sometimes we hang on so tight to things that are no longer meant for us, or to things that actually do more harm than good because we're afraid of being alone or what it would mean to be rejected, even if we have to sacrifice who we are and what we really want for ourselves to be accepted. If we're doing that, we don't have true acceptance anyways. We're really living inauthentically, and that does a lot of damage to our spirit and can even cause more trauma than what we may have already been through at the hands of others that are causing this need or behavior of holding on for dear life so tightly. I get very passionate about this, but we can get more into that on another day. But the point is, a lot of my clients, and myself included, are continually learning what it means to let go. And in this session where we were talking about letting go, out of nowhere, I saw this image of my client's hands adorned with her plethora of beautiful rings and nails done on a shopping cart handle. And it was clear as day in my mind's eye. So I felt guided, like prompted to take her on a little exercise that involved her physically letting go of something in order to apply that to her mental and emotional states. So we were going to start with the basics to define what it even means to let something go. I sat for a minute and I kept putting it off because I kept trying to come up with something better besides the shopping cart, but I kept seeing that image in my mind's eye. So I just surrendered to it, even though it seemed weird to me, and not in a bad way. I just had no clue how it would be received. So my own fear was sort of getting in the way there. Anyways, once I surrendered, I just told her what I saw. I said, I keep seeing your hands on a shopping cart in a store. So, with your permission, can you imagine yourself holding onto a shopping cart? And then what would happen if you let go of it? And to my surprise, this sparked a meaningful conversation for her and inspired an action item that she was going to take on to get herself closer to her goals. The conversation ended up being really awesome because she actually had this thing going on in real life where she could not leave her shopping cart while she was in a store. Like, this was actually happening. I could not believe I had tapped into that. When she told me this, it confirmed for me that I need to trust the intuitive or psychic hits I get, because even though I might not understand what I'm seeing, the other person might. It might have meaning, and I can be the messenger without necessarily understanding the meaning. And it ended up being super helpful. So I would actually love to do a future video on the topic of letting go and the conditioning and abandonment wound behind my client not being able to let go of her shopping cart, because it goes that deep when you are healing from trauma. So if you'd like a video on that, let me know in the comments. And if there's enough interest, I can definitely expand on it, because it's really interesting to become aware of how past trauma can impact simple everyday tasks like pushing a shopping cart. It really touches so much of our lives that can be healed. And I'm really passionate about that too. But anyways, the shopping cart vision was one of my most recent psychic hits that was really in my face, that was validated almost immediately, and I learned a lot from trusting it. It really paid off. Okay, so another psychic hit I want to tell you about was several years ago now. It was probably somewhere in 2015 or 2016-ish. I had signed up for a class on honing your psychic abilities, and it was being taught by the great and late Suzie Kerr Wright. She was an amazing astrologer and psychic medium here in Nashville, Tennessee, that I had come across from a few friends, and I'd attended a group reading with her. She was really good at what she did, so I wanted to take her class. Shout out to Aroma G's Botanica in Nashville. Aroma G's is this little local metaphysical shop where the class was held. I love going to their booth every time the Galactic Expo is in town, and they're just really cool. But I just want to say before going forward, Suzie, she ended up being really special to me. She passed away in December of 2022. She was a real inspiration to me, and she was a big part of my journey, whether she knew it or not, to embracing psychism and mediumship. She came on the Human Amplified podcast early on, back when it was still called On Being Human, and she was really encouraging for me to keep going with it, which is part of why I'm still doing it today. If you want to hear her interview, it's episode 23. I'm pretty sure that's the right number, but look for the link. I'll link that in this video, and I'll also put it down in the description box so you can check that out. But in her interview, she explains the difference between being psychic and being a medium, and she also goes deep into how astrology works and the role it played in her journey, which I just found so interesting. It's a really cool episode. So I miss her, and I want to remember her, and I do remember her fondly. So I like telling this story. So anyways, I have other stories that involve her that I'm sure I will tell you in other videos too. But anyways, as I was getting in my car to drive to Aroma G's, what seemed like out of nowhere, I got this vivid image in my mind of like this corally pinkish decorative soap that was the shape of a seashell. I was like, what the heck? Where did that come from? So I really just dismissed it and drove to the class, which was about a 30-minute drive from where I was. So I did not think about this image again. At this point, it's been so long, I actually don't remember a lot of what went on in the class, except for the exercises that Suzie had us do. So she was standing at the front of the room, and she holds up this little white box, and she says, okay, guys, what's in the box? Pay attention to your subtle first impression and tell me what impressions you get as you tune into it. So I tried to tune into it, and I wasn't getting much in that exact moment, but then all of a sudden I remembered the flash of the vision of the decorative soap, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what's in the box. How did I tune into it without realizing it before I was even at the class? I didn't know. So I was like, okay, I'm going to say that and see what happens, almost not believing that I would be right. So Susie starts going around the room, and people are saying various qualities of what the hidden item might be, and they're making guesses. And I remember one person said, "Is it a leaf?" Stuff like that. Then the person next to me says, "It's a seashell." And I was like, interesting. And then Susie got to me and I said, "It's a decorative soap." Susie's eyes got so big. She was like, "You guys are freaking me out." And she was a psychic herself, but she was always amazed at the ability. And myself and my neighbor beside me were right. It was a seashell shaped decorative soap. Say that 5 times fast, but my mind was blown and it was really fun. So Susie then had us go on a scavenger hunt through Aroma G's and find some items she'd hidden without knowing what they were. I, unfortunately, failed miserably at the scavenger hunt, and even to this day, at least at the time of making this video, I'm not very able to tune into things on demand and know what they are. And I think it's because maybe I'm trying too hard. Maybe my mind gets too involved and clouds my intuitive hits. But so as it stands for me at the moment, I do sometimes get visions when I least expect them, and I know I probably miss a bunch of them or confuse them for my own thoughts. And I tend to pay attention to them when they're really vivid and just like in my face, and then it ends up taking a little while to uncover what they mean. So this is something I definitely want to work on honing. And I'd also like to know, have you ever experienced anything like this? I know there are different types of psychic abilities, which you've probably heard of, the clairs. I'm not going to teach about that because I go to teachers to learn that type of information. But what I'm talking about today is clairvoyance. These are examples of clairvoyance, clear sight. I've definitely experienced some of the other clairs too. I get a lot of clairaudience, a lot of clairsentience. I think that's the one that's knowing, and feeling. Those two are big too. I mean, I think we all experience them all if we really pay enough attention. But what about you? What's your most standout psychic hit that you can remember, and was it validated? What type of psychic experiences have you had? I really love these types of stories, so feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll read every single one.